Most people argue that Philippines left behind when it comes to technological advances, but that doesn't mean that we use to our benefit. But in fact, ICT in general has played a key role in our history. In 1986, during a radio broadcast of Radio Veritas, Cardinal Sin encouraged the Filipinos to hold and regime of them President Marcos, a nation protest also known
Known as the EDSA Revolution or the February Revolution was a series of popular demonstrations in the Philippines, mostly in Metro Manila, from February 22 to 25, 1986. There was a sustained campaign of civil resistance against regime violence and electoral fraud. The 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution gathered millions of Filipinos from all walks of life to march along Epifanio de los Santos Avenue EDSA, the main artery of Metro Manila, to end the dictatorship of President Ferdinand Marcos and begin a new era, marked by true freedom and democracy. We all know how Yolanda became a massive hit, typhooned our country and left many bloods being spilled. Yolanda was the most intense cyclone on record, or known also as of Super Typhoon Haiyan. How time flies so fast that the Yolanda happened 3 years ago. The good thing of this modern society right now is it made the information and communication technology as a source of dissemination of foremost info and a source of communication to the people who are affected. A news came out that Google launched a Yolanda People Finder after the disaster hit the country. It has been said that it was built by the Google engineers after the Haiti hit by a massive earthquake around January 2010. So, the role of ICT in Yolanda People Finder is it was the means of allowing the user to post message and search for their own families or friends who was affected by the typhoon. The Second EDSA Revolution, also known as the Second People Power Revolution, EDSA 2001, or EDSA 2 pronounced EDSA 2 or EDSA DOS, was a political protest from January 17th to 20th, 2001 which peacefully overthrew the government of Joseph Estrada, the 13th president of the Philippines. The decision by several senators not to examine a letter which would purportedly prove Estrada's guilt sparked large protests at the EDSA shrine in Metro Manila, and calls for Estrada's resignation intensified in the following days, with the armed forces withdrawing their support for the president. Following allegations of corruption against Estrada and his subsequent investigation by Congress, impeachment proceedings against the president were opened on January 16. On January 20th, Estrada resigned and fled Malacajang Palace with his family. He was succeeded by Vice President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who had been sworn into the presidency by Chief Justice Hilario Davide JRB. Several hours. This tool was used by Filipinos to mobilize people by text messaging. During EDSA DOS, they send text messages to people about the corruption and the wrongdoings of former President Joseph Estrada and beg people to participate in political event which is to protest that made him impeached. The so-called Million People March at Luneta was the first of a series of protests in the Philippines calling for the total abolition of the Pork Barrel Fund, triggered by public anger over the Priority Development Assistance Fund scam. Initial calls circulated through social media, mainly on Facebook and Twitter, to convene a protest on August 26, 2013 at Luneta Park in Manila, as well as other cities nationwide and overseas. Some media commentators consider this as the first ever massive rally in the Philippines called and organized, mostly through social media channels. The so-called pork barrel scam was first exposed in the Philippine Daily Inquirer on July 12, 2013, 12 with the 6-part expose of the Inquirer on the scam pointing to businesswoman Janet Lim Naples as the scam's mastermind after Ben Herkay, Louis, her second cousin and former personal assistant, was rescued by agents of the National Bureau of Investigation on March 22, 2013, 4 months after he was detained by Naples at her unit at the Pacific Plaza Towers in Fort Bonifacio.